What's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Scene with Tia. Today, we are talking about something that every business owner has to figure out eventually. How do you get people to trust you enough to say yes? My guest today is Rebecca Gruenspan, an adoption consultant and founder of RG Adoption Consulting. She's built a highly specialized business around helping families navigate one of the most emotional and challenging life decisions they will ever make. But this conversation is going to go way beyond adoption. We're getting into what it takes to build credibility in a niche industry, how trust influences buying decisions, what fear and uncertainty can teach us about our customers, and what happens when the heart of your work is deeply personal, but the business still has to grow. Rebecca has spent years watching people make these high stakes decisions, and I think what she's learned about human behavior has some pretty powerful lessons for all of us building businesses. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we are live. So welcome, Rebecca, to the podcast. I was going to do this whole introduction, but I'm actually going to allow you to introduce yourself to the listeners. So tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me to your closet. I love it. I'm Rebecca Gruenspan. Gosh, that is the hardest question of this whole podcast. Tell people about yourself. Okay. I am a single mama through adoption. I have a 15-year-old son we are in a transracial open adoption. I also have two doodles, a golden doodle and a mini Aussie doodle that we just rescued. And I am from the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, and I've been working in adoption. I made my my passion, my life, my career, and started my own business 13 years ago with RG Adoption Consulting. I help families navigate the adoption process for infant adoption in the United States. And then I also own another company in the adoption world called Our Chosen Child, which is more the design and marketing arm of adoption. So I've been doing that just for a couple years.
That's awesome.
I mean, business-wise, that's a little bit about me. I could keep going, but...
I mean, I feel like that was a really great opening, but I'm going to get more into the nitty-gritty of some of the things you just said. So you started RG Adoption back in 2013, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. So take me back to the beginning. What is it that made you decide to start your company?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was working in the nonprofit world, running different events and leading different committees and working with very high-powered women. And I always thought, number one, I want to be the boss one day.
Yes.
It's not all it's cracked up to be, by the way. And so I was inspired by all these women. And I always had all these business ideas. I had this notebook of business ideas and I would write them down. I'm like, yes, this is it. And then I wouldn't do anything with it. It just didn't stick. And then after I adopted my son, and I used an adoption consultant, which is what I am now, I sent 8 different people who then came to me. I became this magnet for adoption, right? Because they're like, gosh, you did that quickly. How did you do it? I'm thinking about adoption. And I sent them all very passionately, telling them, I'm not going to tell you anything about adoption unless you work with my consultant, because I'm not going to let you do this alone. And I sent her all these clients. And 2 years later, because I was helping them on the back end, I thought, well, I'm not sick of talking about this every day. That's a good sign, because that could easily be the case. I mean, this is a heavy topic, adoption.
Yeah.
And I talked about it every day from the day I adopted. And I thought, you know what? This is it. So I didn't initially think I'm going to start my own business. I called my consultant first and I asked if she wanted a partner. And she said the best thing she could have ever said to me, which was, call me back in about a year and a half. I'm not quite ready.
Okay.
10 minutes later, I called her back. I said, well, I'm going to be your competitor. I'm going to do this. Will you help me? And she said, with what?
That's funny.
And I've been doing it ever since.
Oh my gosh. That is such a story. I love that you said you didn't even think you were starting a business right away. After you adopted your son, what did you think you were building? Like, what did you think it was going to become.
Just thought I was going to be a mom. I
Yeah.
didn't think at all. I never thought I'm going to start a business. Like I had kind of just put that aside for a while and was just going to continue doing what I was doing, which by the way, and I didn't mention this, I was also very miserable in my job.
What were you doing?
And I was in fundraising.
Oh, yeah.
And I had been a fundraiser for about 20 years, and I was so sick of asking for money from entitled people. But it was cool to ask from corporations and be able to, march myself into the CEO's office of some big, huge corporation. That was fun. But I was not happy in my job. And so I had been thinking, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And I just kind of slowly started working it during my breaks and evenings and weekends. And so I was building it while I was also working until I manifested getting fired so that I could still reap the benefits of, getting, they pay you for a little while.
Yeah.
And so I had it all kind of work out the way it needed to work out.
That's incredible. I'm curious because adoption consulting is such a niche business. When you first started, and I even want to roll it back a little bit to when you actually worked with an adoption consultant, was that a big thing back then already?
No, it wasn't. And it was just a fluke that somebody I decided to share what I was doing with, which listen up, people, because this is a huge thing, is that you have to share things about yourself or share what you are up to, even if it's vulnerable, because that's the way things get put in front of you, opportunities that you wouldn't have thought about. So this woman said, here's a list of places you can call. And there was a consultant on there. I just thought she was the only one in the country. It didn't even dawn on me, look to see if there's other people. I talked to her. She told me about her business. She said she could help me. And I said, okay, I don't know if this is legit or not, but I'm certainly going to try it out. And a year from the day I called her, I had my son in my arms.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So with you jumping right into it next to her and becoming an adoption consultant, how did you go about marketing your business and really letting people know what it is that you do? Because I can imagine when people hear adoption consultant, they're like, what's that?
Yeah. So to your question before, I think there were probably, 4 or 5 consultants in the country when I adopted. And now there's somewhere between 15 to 20.
Okay.
So I think I was number 5 or 6. And I sat there for a while. So it wasn't a big thing. Back then, what it looked like is very different than what it looks like now. I quickly learned after you start a business that the majority of what you do is not the thing your business is about. It's marketing and getting the word out. And so that was something I was not expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but not the fact that, oh my gosh, do I need a marketing degree here? I don't know what to do. Facebook was my friend then, and it still is today. And it goes back to that first thing. You've got to share with people what you are doing. And it just so happened that my first couple clients were because people shared my post on Facebook. I didn't know them, but people I knew my first clients. And they found me. And I remember at the beginning, I was saying to people, well, I know that I'm not that experienced yet. And I can give you the names of other people too, but I know that I can help you. I was so not confident. I mean, all the wrong things to say to somebody. And it took one of my first clients who said to me, I don't need any other names. I wanted to talk to you because I saw your website and you resonated with me.
That's good.
And I thought, right. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't need to be giving other names out. I am who they want to talk to. They found me. So that helped me a lot. I needed that feedback from a client.
That is so good. And it's so true. I feel like a lot of times we can get into the space of doubting ourselves without even knowing that sometimes all it takes to build trust is to be your vulnerable self in public, in the open, and allowing people to see that side of you before they're like, you know what? Like she said, this resonated with me and I really want to give this a go. And it's because of you and how you showed up. So that's incredible. And sounds like that's stuck with you ever since.
It really has. And I was giving my services away at that time because that was also a thing. Like, I'm not senior enough in what I do, so I can't charge that much. Which is
Lies.
also, get that out. Yeah, lies. These are all myths. Now, by the way, fast forward, I always want to charge more than anybody else because psychologically, I must be better if I charge more money.
Wow.
Right? Where I was thinking, I'm going to get more clients if I'm the least expensive. It's actually the opposite. If you're the least expensive, they're going to look at you as not as experienced, or they must not be as good. They're either going to go for the middleman or the highest one because they think, if they're that expensive, they must be the best.
I love that you're getting into this because this is buyer psychology, like 101. Do you think that has a lot to do with how you build trust with people who are potentially looking to hire you?
That's interesting. I don't know. And the world changes so much year to year. But I do think that it's an impression. And I don't necessarily want to work with the people who are just price shopping, right?
Yeah.
You have to think about that. Are you somebody who wants to win the business every time because you want to win the price shopping war? Because it's a hard war to play in. Or do you want a narrower amount of people that want to work with you because they think you are the best? And you're going to get them to where they want to be. And people would ask me why I cost more than everybody else, like at the very beginning. And at first I would say, well, someone has to be the highest. Why shouldn't it be me?
That's a cute answer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And they bought. That's the thing. Each time I'm like, okay, well, I'll raise it, but I can always go back down. And guess what happened? I never went back down. I kept going back. I kept going up. I remember I was working with a coach once. It was Amy Porterfield, for anybody who knows that name. I was working with Amy Porterfield in one of her programs, and she said to me, you need to be charging $10,000. And I said, I need to what? Never. That will never happen. I can't. Nobody will buy from me. And right today, I have a program, a premier opportunity to work with us at that $10,000 level. And guess what? People buy it.
Yeah.
People want that level because there's always going to be people who are used to always buying the best package.
Yeah.
Because they want all the bells and whistles. And there are a lot more bells and whistles. There's always going to be someone who buys what you have if you do good work. And we do good work.
I love that. So you're 13 years in now, and you started off not really knowing what to do. What are some of the things that you started to do to build that credibility as you got new clients and things like that? What did that look like?
Yeah, it only takes a few families, a few success stories under your belt for that ripple to start, right? Because they tell other people or they share it for it to just catch on. The other thing that I think really helped is I had to establish two people who were looking for me that I knew what I was talking about. So one of the things I learned, because I worked with a lot of marketing people at the time to learn from, one of the things I learned was to join every Facebook community that had the potential people that I needed, not to promote myself, but to give, to answer questions, to show who I was through helping others. And suddenly, if you're answering all these people's questions and you're giving really good advice, they're going to be like, who is this person? And I'll tell you, that first year, Facebook, I wasn't on Instagram at the time, but that was my number one way that people found me.
Wow. And it still is today?
Google and Facebook.
Okay.
But social media was huge for me, and it's mostly just showing up, being consistent, growing your email list. Those are ways, and people need to see and hear your name at least 3 to 5 times before they're like, well, I keep hearing this name. Who is this person? Keep having your name be heard and seen. Doesn't matter who you are. You want people to say, I've heard of this person before, right? This is a great little story. I once worked for a company, I'm not even going to name the name because I wasn't happy. This was the one I was working at right before I started my own business, but I was working for a company and it was owned by a woman and she was trying to come up with the name of her company. And it was at that time that she was trying to come up with the name that a well-known airplane with a well-known airline across the side of it flew by and she's like, that's it. I'm going to be, that name with then her, what she did afterwards. So, if it was house cleaning, it might have been American House Cleaning or United House Cleaning or Continental House Cleaning. And guess what? People would call her and say, I've heard of you before. And she's like, really? Because I just started my business a week ago. But it's that know, like, and trust factor, right? It's that you've got to be seen. You've got to be heard. You've got to be consistent.
I love that. That reminds me of how I named my son because I was driving on the highway in Columbus and I passed a sign that said Easton Way. And I'm like, that's it. That's the name.
Easton.
And I named my son Easton.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's cute.
That's funny.
But okay, so talking about adoption, I can imagine that a lot of your clients are confused. Maybe they don't know which way to go. There's a lot of emotions and things like that. How do you navigate working with clients that are experiencing all these emotions? And how do you do that? Like, how do you work in this such niche industry where emotions are high and you never really know what you're going to get with each family that you encounter?
Yeah, I mean, with any company, some clients are going to be easier to work with than others. And we all hope and wish to get all the easy clients, but you don't. Number one, and this goes back to how people trusted me. I've walked the walk. I've walked in their shoes. And when I first started, it was very recently. So it was very fresh. And so they wanted someone who understood what they were going through. And I think that's the same here is just knowing that people see you and understand what you might be going through. And the people on my team who work with our families, we have all walked it. And we have experienced collectively pretty much everything people might experience. There are always going to be people who handle stress better than others. And I think it's really about the trust and the relationship that you establish right from jump. And that means sharing a little bit of your own personal story too, so that they can really feel who you are and your heart. And hopefully if you've done that well, they're gonna, sometimes we have to tell them, sometimes they are great with us, but maybe not the agencies they're working with, the attorneys, because there's a lot of frustrating things. And sometimes we are the ones that have to say, listen, you got to cool your jets a little bit because they are in power right now. Take your frustrations out on us, not them. But it's hard sometimes. And sometimes we just had a situation that I'm in right now that they were fine with us, nothing special, but nothing horrible. We were working with them and all of a sudden they draft this whole legal document that this went wrong and this went wrong and this went wrong. But we're like, we did not see this coming. And you never know what's going to trigger somebody.
Yeah.
You have to stay consistent. You have to stay the way you've always been with them. And, every once in a while, you might just have to say, you know what, I don't know that I'll be able to help you anymore, which we've had to do too, is bless and release. I think it all comes back to the relationship the foundation that you set with the family, with your client from the very beginning, because this is an emotional roller coaster. And we're usually working with families. It could be a few months and it could be a few years.
Wow.
And you don't know which one it's going to be when you start. You get to know people and you get to know their personalities also. So you figure out quickly what expectations need to be set with them or what they need to learn before they really get to the hard stuff. So it's really knowing, having walked in their shoes, we can anticipate what's coming and how they might react to it. Not always, but the best we can.
I really like that you mentioned setting expectations. I think that's so important. And it's something that I learned the hard way.
That's how we all usually learn, right?
Yeah. And just assuming that people know what we know, right? But I forget I'm the expert. They don't know. And that's why they're coming to me. And so I had to learn that the hard way. But I love that you mentioned setting expectations. I think that's so important. And it's the work that you do on the front end versus having to do it on the back end when you have to backtrack and then try to talk about expectations when they're not trying to hear it.
Yeah. Well, and one of those things is, how often are we going to be communicated with, right? How often are we going to get space with you? So we tell them that from the get-go. I will follow up with you at least once a month. You can text me every day of the week if you want, and I'll respond. But if you don't hear from me, know that you'll hear from me at least once a month. So now they can't say, well, we haven't heard from you all month. No, but that was the agreement we had. Also, keeping good notes is really important to protect you and to protect them.
It's really good. I was actually just getting ready to ask you that. Like, do you put that in writing?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we used to call it expectations, whatever that they have to read and cite. We changed that to mutual agreement.
Yes.
The word expectation, it doesn't always come across warm and fuzzy, and we're a pretty warm and fuzzy group. And you still have to, I know I'm getting off subject a little bit, but another hard lesson I learned is you still have to stick to whatever you put in writing for an agreement.
Yeah.
And guess what? That agreement you have them sign in year 1 is going to look very different in year 10 when things keep coming up that you're like, shoot, we need to put that in the agreement. Shoot, we need to put that in the agreement. So we got a lot of stuff in our agreement now.
I bet. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine, because with every family, it's different situations. I mean, there's probably a bazillion combinations of things that could happen.
Yeah, and everybody thinks they're unique. And that's, again, with any business, everybody thinks they're the special one until they get a little humbled.
Right. Oh my goodness. So you mentioned something earlier, and I'm going to run it back a little bit. You mentioned that there have been times in your business where you've had to bless and release some folks from working with you. And I can't imagine that that's easy. So let's talk really quick about how you've learned to balance being deeply empathetic with making those types of decisions that are required for you to actually grow your business.
I have, after 13 years, avoided most of those by now because I learned the hard way. One thing I will say, kind of backtracking that, is people show you who they are right from the get-go, right from that very first inquiry call you have with them, right? They show up late, or they need to reschedule, or they challenge everything that you try to tell them as an expert. You have to decide how badly you want the business, because as business owners, we get to choose who we work with. And you don't want to work with everybody.
Right.
Because some people are really going to make your life miserable, and it's not worth it. But when you're just starting out, you are hungry. And listen, that hasn't changed. I'm still hungry. And I have to remind myself, no, you don't. Yes, she's ready to sign. And that means money in your pocket and in the business. And that's going to be a big headache for the next year. Is that something you're willing to do? And the answer is no, especially not anymore. It's not worth it. I think I've only had to really stop working with somebody once or twice. Typically, they will bless and release themselves before I have to do it. They've already checked out. They are giving you attitude or being difficult because they're struggling in something, or they're not really into it, but they don't want to admit it. So sometimes the best thing you can do for them and you is say, I don't know how else I can help you. We've done everything that we can. Or, I don't think that our service is really going to make you happy. And then you have to decide, are you going to give money back? Are you going to give all back? Are you going to give half back? Are you going to get none back? Depending on where you are in your process. How much have you done? All of that.
That's really good. And I love that you talked about all of that, because I know I have listeners that are just starting off in their businesses. And I think I shared this with you. I'm 3 years in of being full time. So before, when I didn't need this job, I could care less, like if somebody wants to work with me or not. But when you're new in your business, that could be a daunting thing. Like, oh, if I say no to this, then, that's missing revenue. But to your point, two things can be true.
Yeah.
You could have that revenue and you can have a headache for the next year. And you have to decide, are you willing to put up with that?
Yeah.
And is it worth it? And I'm here to tell everybody it is not worth it. And I'm sure you would say
no, it'll keep you up at night.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, they'll ask for their money back anyways because they're not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you got to go back to that agreement.
Yeah. And decide what to do about it. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So this is totally switching gears. So I'm just so curious. I have all these questions, but again, you're 13 years in. At what point in your business did you realize that you needed help and that you could not do this by yourself?
Oh, pretty quickly. I don't even remember when I hired my first intern. I hired an intern who ended up staying with me for a few years and then hired another intern who ended up staying with me for 6 years.
Wow.
Which was great. And from then, as the business grew, in my very first year of business, I think I started like a few months into the year. Oh no, I started in July. And by the end of that year, I think I had 3 clients, and I thought, I've made it. I've made it. I've made $8,000 this year. It can only go up from here. And it did, thankfully. For 10 good years, it went up and then it went down. And that happens too. But I pretty quickly, and if I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I did it slowly. And every single time I hired someone, it was the scariest thing ever. It's very scary to hire someone. So when I did make my first real hire beyond my intern who became an employee, it was commission because I thought, okay, that's the only way I can really feel like I can do it. I probably could have, but I didn't know. And it's hard to trust what you don't know is going to come in or not. And so I did it by commission. And that worked for me for many years because you'll only get paid if it comes in. You'll only get paid if you work. And I think I hired contractors at first. Good. And there's pros and cons to both. But there are a couple things now that I think every business needs. One is a virtual assistant, and you can call it whatever you want. It's all under the umbrella of operations. Who can do all those admin tasks that you should not be doing because you could be doing other things that cost way more than what you would pay an admin. And there's no excuse. They're so easy to get anymore. There's so many ways that you can find people to do the admin tasks, to do your billing, or to do whatever you're comfortable with that should be off your plate so that you could focus on the bigger ticket things. So a virtual assistant, an admin, something like that. And a bookkeeper to really help you manage the financials, the books. There's way more to understand than just what came in and what came out. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And as I just started adding the right people, I think finally, after 13 years, I'd say 2 years ago was the first time I'm like, oh my God, I have all the right players. Finally.
What a good feeling.
To run a good business. And it takes time. You have to, it takes time. And the world shifts too, because now you have to worry about AI, right? Who on your team knows AI? Because if you don't know it, learn it.
Yeah.
Or hire someone who does, because it's imperative now.
Absolutely. At every level, every level. Was it hard for you when you had to bring people onto the team because you had built this monstrosity of a business where
I wouldn't go that far.
I will. I've been looking. I've been paying attention. Okay. But you built this incredible business, and this becomes like probably your second baby, something that you hold very near and dear to your heart. Was it really hard for you to let other people into those spaces where you had that complete control before, and now you have to trust that somebody else is going to uphold the same level of excellence in how you approach things?
Yes. And it still is. I haven't completely learned to let go. I'm trying. The first difficult thing was sharing clients, having other people that I trusted take care of our families the way I knew I was taking care of the families, and doing it the way I wanted it done, or the system that I built, right? Over the years, you just start realizing there are more ways than one to get excellent results. It's not just your way that it can be done. And you just start to let go a little bit more and a little bit more, because you have to if your business is going to grow. You can't hold on so tight, or you'll make some of the mistakes I did and really burn yourself out, because it's hard to have your hand in everything. It's also hard to walk away.
Whew, say it 2 times because I'm with you on that. It definitely is.
Yeah.
With your other consultants that you have brought on, is one of the prerequisites that they have gone through the adoption journey?
Yes. For my consultants specifically, not for other team members. I have team members who do multiple things and in various different capacities. My operators did not come on with adoption background. The people who do my marketing, because the words are very important to know what can be said, what shouldn't be said. So marketing is very important that they understand adoption, and absolutely the people who work with the families have to have walked in their shoes.
I love that. What, why? Why is that a prerequisite?
Yeah. I worked with a consultant who hadn't, and she became a mom, not in the traditional way, and she had never adopted or gone through the adoption process herself. And I think in hindsight, she was very good at what she did, but there were certain things that she would never understand. Or there was no way she could ever really prepare me for to be the best parent that I could be because she hadn't walked in those shoes.
Wow.
There are so many nuances. And even, listen, I keep saying 13 years later, but I continue to learn more things every day from other adoptees and what they wish their parents would have known. And I take all this stuff and I take it to heart and I try to teach as much as I can to my families. I'm not going to know everything, and I'm way ahead of them all. So I've lived a lot of experience and I can speak to that. Everybody's journey is going to look different. Adoption has its own language. There are things you should say. There are things you shouldn't say. There is a vocabulary, just like in a lot of other businesses, that if you don't know it, you've just lost a lot of credibility. And so I think, going back to that credibility and trust and all of it, the emotional factor of it, having walked through it is, I think, just so important.
Wow. I can imagine that that is so important because even as I think about it, if I were to ever think about adoption, just knowing how complex that whole process is and how many things there is to know that you just would not know, having somebody who has literally stepped in your shoes and can give you some of the cheat codes is so valuable. So I love that you made that a prerequisite. I think that was a genius idea. And honestly, I think it's probably one of the things that sets you apart because you care that much to have that as one of the baseline things of your business. Like, we want you to know that we've been where you are. I just think that's amazing. So, what's something you believe about building a business today that you absolutely did not understand when you first started?
The importance of an email list above anything, because you own it. And we have found that that is usually the first step. Now, my business is very different. It's high ticket. It's emotional. You don't just come in one day and decide overnight you're going to adopt a baby, right? So usually they'll land in my email and they'll get to know me. And that's where I can show them who I am and how we teach and all the things. So typically, those will be our clients, are the people who get onto our email list. And those are the people I get to talk to on a weekly basis. I don't think I understood the concept of consistency the way I do now. And I mean, social media is the perfect example. You know the people who, when you sign on, they're on every single day doing a video.
So
they're
true.
posting every day. And if you like one, you're going to go back and see what they say next. And you don't know them from Adam, but they're there every day. And so you start to like them and you're like, oh, now I know them. It's amazing. I used to be on a lot more than I am now. I'm getting older. I'm getting tired. But but consistency is really important. It's that know, like, and trust factor again. The other thing I would say, and this is a really big one that is still hard to struggle with, but I have to just keep remembering: progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection. You can work for months and months and months to get the next quiz uploaded right now. That's what I'm doing right now. We are updating our quiz on mine. And my marketing person's like, can you read this over? Can you look at it? Is this the way you want? And I'm like, you know what? Just get it up. If I don't like it, we can always tweak it. Trust yourself. Just let's move forward and stop stalling. And that happens every day. You can just get into, no, change this word first and change. People don't care. People don't care as much as you care. They just want the information, and you just need to get it out there or you'll completely hold yourself back. Something I learned recently is the businesses who have the most success, or the people who have the most success, are the people who act the fastest.
Yeah. So true.
And that has not been me historically. I'm trying to keep that mindset and keep moving forward.
I agree. And I think we're seeing that, to your point, we're seeing that with this evolution of AI. The businesses who are jumping on the AI bandwagon and figuring that out and just trucking along as it grows, they are literally skyrocketing into more visibility, more everything. So,
yeah,
so true. Now you mentioned your podcast, which is where I was getting ready to go next. So tell us a little bit about your podcast. And for those listening who might even be thinking about adoption, why should they listen?
Yeah, it's called the Adoption Roadmap Podcast. The model that I use to help our families is called the Adoption Roadmap. I wrote a book that's on Amazon. It's called The Adoption Roadmap. There's a theme here. The Adoption Roadmap podcast, I specifically made it to be tactical advice and knowledge for hopeful adoptive parents and new adoptive parents. There are a lot of podcasts out there of shared stories, which is very important. I didn't want to be another one. So yes, people share their stories through what they have to teach, but it's more about the lessons that you need to know to be the best adoptive parent that you can be, and also to help you through the process of adopting a baby. So it's pretty tactical. I think it's all really important stuff that you need to know if you're going to adopt a baby.
Wow, I love that. I was actually listening to one of your episodes, and
thank you.
I want to say it was from Valentine's Day this year, but what I loved about it is you were singing. You were just
oh, you never know what I'm going to do.
This is the best.
You never know.
I always love the podcast where people are just being their authentic selves, and they're just like, I don't even care. This episode is going out. And I just loved it. It totally caught my attention. So definitely for anybody who's listening, who's going to go back to the Valentine's Day 2026.
That was probably 26. Okay. Oh, yeah.
That might have,
I think I sort of remember.
I don't even know what year it is.
Yeah, 26 is the year we're in. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. So last question for you. If you could sit down with the version of Rebecca who was just starting this business, what would you tell her about building a business that people can trust?
Stay in your own lane and be confident in yourself. You know what you're doing. You know how great you are at doing it. Don't compare yourself. Just put your blinders on and be you. Be your authentic self, and you'll do great.
I love it. And even though that was to younger Rebecca, I'm receiving it too.
Oh, I'm still receiving it.
I love it. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to bless us with all of these cheat codes, years of experience and knowledge. I've been blessed by this conversation, and I know that listeners will be too. So I appreciate your time today, and I will look forward to everybody getting to listen to this. Before I let you go, do you have any last words or any other little nuggets that you want to leave?
I just want to say thank you, because it's fun for me to come on and talk about the business end of things, because usually when I'm talking on a podcast, it's about adoption and all the things in adoption. So it's fun for me to talk about the business side, because I love being an entrepreneur and I love geeking out with other people who are just starting out. I will brainstorm with any business owner anytime. And it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. I don't think I'd change it, though. For sure now I'd never go back to working for somebody else.
I'm right there with you.
Sometimes
amen
I
to
wish
that.
I did.
Yeah, amen to that. But thank you so much, Rebecca. And I hope you and everybody else listening has a great rest of the day and a happy weekend.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode. I really love this conversation with Rebecca because there are so many lessons here that have nothing to do with adoption and everything to do with building a business that people trust. If you have ever struggled with explaining what you do, earning credibility in your industry, or helping your potential clients feel confident enough to take the next step, I hope this conversation gave you something to think about. Rebecca, Thank you so much for sharing your story, your experience, and the lessons that you've learned along the way. And fam, if this episode resonated with you, make sure you're following the podcast, share this episode with another woman building her business, and come back for the next combo. Until next time, keep building your businesses, keep building your brands in the life that you actually want. Love and peace.